You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge.
We can grow. We can develop.
As we know that heaven is not a place, and happiness lives in the heart. Long as the world keep turning, our duty is to keep on learning. You heard?
Keep on learning. It's soaking up game. We gon' make mistakes. We gon' go through something. Keep on growing. Keep on soaking up game. If something ain't working, don't be afraid to
Greetings to you, and welcome to another edition of MIB Unleashed, Real Black Talk. I'm your host, I'm Brother Wayne. Hopefully you're familiar with us by now and you're tuning in on a regular basis to hear what we do. We are commentary, we give our opinions on the issues of today. We also are mentoring our company, and we are looking to mentor our young people. We say that we are looking to deprogram and restore original pride to our youth. And you can reach us at www.mibness.com. Please do so and put us in the game, help us out, help us to help our young people. My co-host, of course, is Brother Maurice, again with you. And let's jump right in, sir.
Yes, sir.
Today, brother, I wanted to talk about, of course, I know many of you have heard about the Urban League's report. They do an annual report on the state of Black America. And the report came out recently, and it is a mixed bag this time. Some people have called it, and I think I would echo that. It's a tale of two truths. The fact of the matter is that we've made tremendous progress in this country, especially when you compare it to 1963. We've made tremendous progress in basically all of the areas, from education and to politics, and especially when you compare the progress intra-racial, meaning when you compare what we've done, what black people were doing in 1963, 73, 83, until today. When you compare it, then we're making strides. We're closing the gap and we're making strides. But when you go outside and then compare what we're doing to the white community, not so much. The gaps are not being closed as much. Matter of fact, we're making very little strides in closing the racial gaps when it comes to all those areas. So the question is, what's happening? How is it that we're making progress yet we're not being able to close the gap when it comes to the racial divide in this country? Are we not focusing on the right things? Is there something going on that we just simply are not privy to? Are they smarter than us in terms of the way they operate? What in your view, what do you think is the issue here?
My main position with that, Brother Wayne, is that we have a tendency not to be able to communicate properly and effectively. And I think that's why when you attend college, one of the courses that they have as a mandatory course is communication. And I think that if you don't communicate effectively, then you can't reach a goal or aim, and you cannot rise in the areas that are needed most because you're not communicating in that area.
Communication to me suggests that education is a problem, that we're not being educated or we're not getting enough education. Let me give you some of the numbers that the Urban League's report suggests. The Urban League's report that we've closed the gap in terms of with white kids for its high school completion. Mm-hmm. We've closed that gap by 57%.
Okay.
This report also suggests that we have tripled the number of black people enrolled in college.
Right.
And or graduated.
Mm-hmm.
So educationally, we seem to be doing what we're supposed to be doing. We're going to high school, we're completing high school, we're going on to college. We are really doing that. So you're saying the communication, is it related to education at all, or are you saying it's another form of communicating?
Well, I think the study pointed out that it was a 1 to 5 comparison. You have 5 people graduated versus now versus 1963. Okay. But what I'm seeing is that that's still a small number of the masses when you relate it to how many people go to college and graduate, how many go to high school and graduate.
I get that. So you're saying that the aggregate is not impacted as much as the number suggests.
Right.
That we are, and what you're correct in that, what we've done is we've produced a larger class structure within Black America. More of us are doing better, but that means that more of us also are still doing bad.
Right, because we have that poverty issue now. They didn't get into that. I mean, not, clear and succinct, I would add. Where is poverty at, as far as the line of poverty?
This study suggests that living in poverty has declined about 23 points.
But in reference to 63?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we've increased in numbers. Okay, and I think that this is a good report, but I think it's not giving us the real big picture, because look at the unemployment rate.
It says Black children living in poverty is down by 22%, 22 points. Home ownership has increased 14 points, and but the racial gaps still exist.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So in other words, what this report says to us is that Black America, we've made strides, tremendous strides from zero to today. And we're using 1963 as zero.
Right.
When we were not anywhere in terms of what we should have been.
Right.
We were locked out of society, basically. So from 63 to today, we've made tremendous strides in education. We've made tremendous strides in even overcoming poverty to some degree.
Right.
We've made tremendous strides in our living standard. But what we haven't made strides in, and what we haven't closed any of the gap yet, is in the economic factors.
Right, and that's why I was mentioning poverty, because when you look at poverty, it's so much poverty going on now.
And you asked the question about unemployment. The unemployment gap, according to this study, is still at 52%.
So you mean from 63 to now we haven't changed as far as?
No, it just says that the gap is at 52%, meaning that half of our community still is unemployed.
Okay, so look at that number. That's a real serious number, because we are still at an alarming rate of being unemployed.
We know that, yes sir, that's what we're going to get to. The income gap is at 60%, meaning for every dollar that the white community makes, we're making 60 cents. So we're still not closing that gap income-wise.
Okay.
And even that has been closed to some degree, so that used to be much bigger than what it is today. So it's the same as in 63, the unemployment ratio is still 2 to 1. So we still unemployed twice as much as the white community is employed. Because that's where I want to go. If we've done all the things that we're supposed to do educationally, and we're increasing our high school graduation rates, we're increasing our college degree attainment, but we're not closing the economic gap.
Well, Brother Wayne, and you mentioned it, and I know our listening audience, those who have listened over and over, I think that when we look at this thing, it goes back to W.E.B. Du Bois and our brother
Booker T. Washington. But here's another thing that I found out about this report, which I find to be very interesting, and we're going to get into it in just a second. It says here that 99%, this guy did a study, 99% of those that responded to the study said that 70% of the people said 70% of the jobs that they've had over the course of their lives, 70% of those jobs they got from help from family members, friends, acquaintances, or some insider information.
Okay.
In other words, having someone use some influence to get you your job.
Right.
Or someone that you knew actually could offer you a job.
Right.
70% of the jobs that we get, that's the way we get them. You get them through family member or friend or somebody tell you about it, or you get the what we call the hookup.
Right.
So that would explain the economic gap. If we get jobs through our personal contacts and relationships, and the white people are doing the hiring, wouldn't they have more personal contacts and more personal relationships and more hookup opportunities than we?
Right.
So therefore, we'll never, under the present paradigm,
Right.
close the employment gap. We'll never close the economic gap unless we become the people who are doing the hiring.
Right.
Now that's not hard to understand at all, is it?
No, sir.
That's as simple. This gentleman did the research and said, this is how you got to, I guarantee you, those of you looking at me now, you got your job through somebody that knew you, or a family member, or a friend, or somebody told you about it. That's the way you get jobs, the hookup. That's the way we get jobs in America. You rarely do you go cold with a resume and then somebody choose you out of a stack of resumes.
And I want to point out,
Rarely does that happen.
since we're looking at this thing in depth, as far as the education and the higher ed,
Okay.
we go to college, but I don't think we do enough background on the job availability or the entrepreneur mindset as far as that relates to going and getting an education.
Well, we're operating out of an old paradigm. That's what I'm suggesting. I'm saying that we have got to break the old paradigm that we're working out of. And that paradigm is, boy, girl, get you an education, go to school, get you an education so you can get you a good job.
Right.
That's the paradigm that we've been operating out of. That's the paradigm that we've operated out of now. And that's the one that I'm saying is not working for us in light of statistics.
Right.
We're getting the education, we're going to school, but it's the getting the job thing that's not working for us. We still are on the highest unemployment rate in this country.
Right.
And we still, and that's having an impact on our level of our living standard, our poverty, on our upward mobility in this country. We have got to begin the process of creating jobs.
Right.
That's just as simple as it gets.
Right.
If we don't do that, then we're still under the same paradigm of hoping for someone to get you a job, meaning, and 70% of the people who got jobs know that they get their jobs through
The hookup.
the hookup. Somebody that you know. And unfortunately, if you're not the person doing the hiring, or your mother or your brother or your partner or your cousin is not the person that's doing the hiring, we're not finding those jobs.
And that's the point that you always make up as it relates to trades. The trade sector. I was looking in this week's past paper, the Sunday edition, and it had a whole bunch of jobs in the welding sector. And they were $20 an hour plus job.
That's part of what we've got to change. We've got to change the strategy that we're presently using for employment purposes. We've overlooked a very important component to this whole piece, and that is, you mentioned earlier, the Booker T. Washington model of success for our community. The casting our buckets down where we are, the going into the skills and the laborers, and to making sure that we get those types of, and especially the construction trades, so that we can build it ourselves, and also so we can create companies. Because all of this is tied to the mass incarceration in our community. It has to be. Most of us know people who have gone to jail, and I guarantee you, most of us know people who have gone to jail because of what we call money crimes. They're trying to earn money in some way other than the legal way, which leads to the breaking of the law, which leads to the crime. So my question becomes, because you heard about what Dr. Boyce Watkins is doing with a group of celebrities. They're calling for the end of the epidemic of mass incarceration.
For black people.
And they have an impressive list of celebrities, politicians, is politicians on this list?
Yes, sir.
Civil rights leaders and advocates, they're calling it,
few accolades.
entertainment people, the faith community, talking about the pastors and the bishops and whatnot. They got the music industry, people from the music industry on board. And what I find very strange, they have a very small list of athletes who are on this list.
Right.
We've addressed that before about our poor athlete population that's enslaved. But anyway, the business leaders, elected officials, the fashion industry, media, and academia, and thought leaders are all on this list. Very impressive thing that they're doing. But what they're doing is they've written a letter to the president and asking for the president to use his bully pulpit to, let me see exactly what they said. They want the president to use his bully pulpit to call for, or to use this to end this mass incarceration epidemic. He even called on Attorney General Eric Holder to support this initiative, to persuade Obama administration to lend its considerable resources to productive efforts to help solve the problem.
Okay, because in the past,
Is this going to get it done?
no, in the past, the government created the problem because of the legislatures putting in effect those harsher penalties for these, like you say, money crimes, which consisted of the selling of drugs.
What we don't get, for some reason, and I'm not sure why we don't get it, we've been in this country the longest, we should understand that America is participatory democracy.
Right.
Participatory democracy operates and works with leverage.
Right.
One has to have leverage in order to get what it wants out of the politics and the political class. And the key point to leverage is that you have to be able to punish people who don't give you what you want.
Right.
We suggest then that you have to have some way of unifying your group. We saw this work for us to perfection during the Civil Rights Movement,
Right.
where we boycotted. The boycott was a classic example of how one uses participatory democracy to get what it wants from the society or the system itself. So we withhold our dollars until you do what we want.
Right.
Well, this same thing could happen, but we haven't seen it recently, the use of boycotts to be effective.
Right, because like you say, the energy and the leadership is not present. And that's what I want to put out here is that when you look at our people, we're lacking the powerful leadership. If you look on the scene, as far as politics is concerned, we have Jesse Jackson and
But is it leadership though, or is it that the community itself? See, we mentioned earlier about we've created this caste society, right, among black people.
right, but they're the ones that are not doing anything.
But what I'm suggesting is that with the civil rights movement, everyone was in the same category.
Right, because we were in a totally different situation as far as economics.
The black doctor and the alley bomb, neither of them could ride on the bus.
Right, because they were black.
It was on the same category. But see, now we've got these different classes of us, and I need a way to describe them, because I've been trying to come up with a way. How do we describe the different classes of us? Now, we know we have the poor,
Right.
and instead of the middle class, I want to call them the working poor.
The working poor.
Okay,
Because they're one paycheck away from what?
the working poor.
Right.
Yeah, they're working, and we're working, but we can't stop working.
Right.
If you stop working, you're gonna go under.
And I think that the Malcolm said the bourgeoisie.
Okay, but we need to break the bourgeoisie now because we got this other group of people. We got this celebrity class of our people.
Right. Which wasn't really popular. It didn't have the numbers back then. They didn't have the clout that the ones have today. So you're correct.
And the celebrity class, they're not rich, or they're not wealthy, I should say.
Right. They have a good job.
They got a good job. Okay, they got a good job because they lose their job.
Right.
Even those good jobs, they're gonna come back down to the working
Right,
poor.
right.
And then you have, and I like the definition that I saw on the Cosby Show about being rich.
Rich.
They said on there that when you're rich, your money works for you.
It would go back to the privilege that, when you look at the difference between black people and white privilege, it would be such as that. I mean, it's almost like you wake up in the morning and you have so much money in the bank, you don't have to worry about anything.
Well, your money works for you.
Right.
Your money works harder than you do.
Right, right.
Okay, that's when you're rich.
Yes, sir.
And the other one I like is when Chris Rock says, in describing the difference between being rich and being wealthy,
Right,
he says Shaquille O'Neal was rich.
right.
The man that signs his check
It's wealthy.
is wealthy.
Right.
So for our community though, we've got right in Black America, we've got the poor, we've got the working poor, we've got the celebrity class, and then we got some rich people.
Right,
The criticism that I'm laying out there is on the celebrity class and the rich.
right.
Okay? These are those persons that haven't performed the responsibility that I think they should perform, and that is the creation of industry.
Right.
So that the poor and the working poor, who are now working for most white corporations and companies,
Right.
could be, and the only way we're there is because we got lucky.
Right.
Because you know the way you get your job is through the hookup.
Right.
And now we're not able to get the hookup like we used to because we don't know, we don't have anybody working in there that can give us the,
Right, because
give us the inside.
they're obviously of the different race.
Things are rougher now, and people are choosing to hire their brother-in-law as opposed to hiring somebody outside the family.
Right.
And so you, the celebrity class and the rich class, you are the persons that were supposed to be the industry producers. We are supposed to be going to work for you. Magic Johnson is the icon. Magic Johnson is an example of what we're talking about.
Right.
That celebrity class is supposed to do.
Right.
That athlete class, the ones who make those big salaries
Right.
and turn those big salaries into jobs for the rest of our people.
And if we had one Magic Johnson type in every city, then this thing would be turned around overnight.
Or let's take this impressive list that Dr. Watkins has put together. This impressive list of celebrities, of athletes, of politicians, and let's say instead of signing on to a letter requesting the Obama administration to use their considerable leverage, and I don't see how that can happen because mass incarceration is resulting from mass arrests.
And that's on the city, state, and federal level.
And most of those crimes are money crimes.
Right.
People commit money crimes when they can't get legitimate work.
Right.
They get involved in the money crimes and our community flourish.
Right.
The underground economy, that's all it is. It's a result of people not having legitimate work.
Right.
So you gotta make some money in America. Let's let that statement be made.
Right.
In America, that's the thing, is you gotta earn some money.
Right.
The question is, how are you gonna earn your money?
And when?
And how?
Yeah.
And there's only two ways.
Yes, sir.
Legally
And illegally.
and illegally. And so what's the engine behind the mass incarceration is the denying of job opportunities. So for us to impact mass incarceration, we've got to impact the opportunity to work, the jobs.
Right. And it's got to be made available by someone. And that someone has to be us in this particular situation.
It has to be us, because remember, the research suggests that 70% of the jobs you get throughout your life is going to come through a family member, an acquaintance, a friend, or somebody you know,
Or a hookup.
or there's somebody that you know that can hire you.
Right.
Now, if we don't know anybody that's doing the hiring,
Right.
we're not working.
That's just like the brother will always come up to you and say, Brother Wayne, you know where I can get a job
They
at?
always do that to us.
Especially the young people.
The young people always do that because we're in that business, we're in that industry. We're working to, retrieve our young people. And the main thing that they're looking for, because it's expensive in America, even for young people.
Right.
You gotta have some money.
Right.
And they be looking for jobs. Can I get a job? And nowadays, what can we do? All we can do is try to put them in a program and train them how to behave.
Right.
So that they can go in there and maybe some white company has have mercy on them
Feel sorry for them.
and then employ them.
Right.
But we're trying to take another approach now. The approach we're taking now is we're trying to get these young people skilled.
Right.
We're trying to make them into carpenters and make them into plumbers and make them into welders so that that company is only interested in the skill that that young person has.
Right.
It's not interested in what that young person looks like.
Right, they're looking at the asset.
They're looking at the asset. I don't care if their pants is hanging down. Is he a good welder?
Can he relay some bricks?
Can he lay some brick?
Can he hang that sheetrock?
See, because prior to now, all we've been doing is trying to give our young people soft skills, and we know what the soft skills are. Soft skills are just manners.
Right, and then you tell them, hey, go get you a degree, and they go get a degree in business education or business,
Administration.
right, and then what happens, that person cannot find a job in that field because that is already filled by, like you said earlier, by those other people.
But no person that's doing the hiring.
Right, and then they end up in McDonald's or Burger King with a degree.
And they get ready to change those requirements.
Well, they gonna require that you have a degree.
That's right. Because the customer service business is getting ready to upgrade.
Right.
And people are beginning to become a little bit unhappy with the kind of service that's at some of these places that are just paying minimum wage.
Right.
So therefore they're getting anybody and everybody to come through.
Right.
But those are not the kind of jobs that you can live with. You got to get two of those kinds of jobs.
Right, and getting back to the point of mass incarceration, look at where they build the prisons at. The prisons are not built in the closer aspects of the city. They're built in rural areas. So,
Go ahead. I'm just saying. You made me think of how they use this. Listen, y'all, we've got to be a little bit more sophisticated than what we are.
right,
These prisons and the industry, the prison whole industry, they're using them to save these little bitty towns.
right.
Can you imagine? You have a system in place that punishes people for not being able to find employment, and then you turn around and make money on actually incarcerating them.
Well, you got free labor. I mean, a body is free labor. I mean, they're gonna clean up, they're gonna make products for the system, they're gonna make products for each other, and they're saving money, making money.
Where are some of the prisons in our state? We in Arkansas. Calico Rock. Nobody never heard of Calico Rock. Ricky. What's another one at? These little bitty towns. Wrightsville. These some little towns. And these little towns don't have anybody living in them. And they're about to go under. And so they say, well, if we build a prison, that's going about 500 jobs right there.
Right.
And y'all get to be the wardens, and you get to be the security guards. You gotta feed them. You gotta wash the clothes, the laundry business. I mean, it's just jobs is being created as a result of our incarceration.
And the ones that are gonna get those jobs are the ones that are in that locale.
Back to the 70% in the hookup.
Right. Bob, and there's a prison coming, you better get ready.
Better get ready. We're gonna have some jobs. when we
Right,
come down.
so that's how this thing works, folks. If we look at it, the mass incarceration of us makes a job for another person.
So what are we saying? What I'm saying is, all activity that does not include the creation of jobs is a waste of our time.
Yes, sir.
We have got to focus on creating jobs. I'm speaking to those persons in our community that can do this. Of course, I'm not talking to the poor, the working poor. I'm talking to the celebrity class. I'm talking to the rich of our people, because we've got some rich people. The statistics say that the gap has closed on the richest level.
Right.
We're producing some people with some money, but they're not doing what they should do in order to help out the aggregate.
And
That's what we're speaking to.
And that goes back to that hand that's reaching down. And pulling the next person up. And that's what they forget. They forget once they become rich and affluent, they forget to actually go back and help those people that's called the least of these.
So, Dr. Watkins, you're doing a real impressive thing by gathering all of these persons together, especially those celebrities. You gather them together, but all you're requiring of them now is the signature on a letter.
Right.
What we're suggesting to you is that, listen, get those persons together in a room and say, listen, y'all, we've got to put our heads together and figure out what types of jobs can we create
For our people.
and we've got to do this on the fast side.
Because people are dying, literally. People are going to prison. You have this great divide between that person that's ultra rich and the poverty-stricken person. And that person wants to have a better way of life. And if someone doesn't help them, and they don't have the capacity to help themselves, then they just go by the wayside. They become a victim of the mass incarceration.
So you can't call for the end of mass incarceration, but you don't do anything about making it end.
Right, because jobs correlate to what? Mass
Incarceration. People are not choosing to go out there and hit folk in the head and rob folk and sell dope and do all these money crimes because they got a pocket full of money. What's happening? We asked that question of our chief of police here.
Right.
We put him on the spot. When we were talking about the crimes in our city and the robberies and the increase in house burglaries, the question was asked of our chief of police. We said, Chief, would you say that all the people that you've arrested for burglaries and or robberies, that they have jobs? Chief says, no.
They're unemployed. So
they
need money. So in order for them to survive, they have to have money. This is a money system. This is a capitalist system. So therefore you have to have capital. So what Brother Wayne is saying is that we have to take our position to help the least of these.
Bottom line. And that's what has happened. The ball has gotten dropped. I know we like to focus on the poor people and make them the bane of our existence and say, we need to focus and help them and they're the problem. No. The problem is in the educated class. And that's really what we're talking about here. We simply have been educated and been given the wrong principles of success.
Right.
That's all.
Yes, because a piece of paper on the wall, a degree, a master's, a doctorate, if you're not doing nothing with it, if you're not proactive in your setting, then you're not doing anything with the degree that you worked hard for. And we're not negating the fact that you didn't do something to get that degree. But what are you doing and what have you done lately that will help people?
And you only did what we were taught to do. And they were the wrong principles. They gave us slavery principles.
Right.
See, this is how this sounds, and this is the paradigm we've always operated out of. I've already said it. Go to school. Go to school, get you a good education, so you can get you a good job. Now, if I say it this way, it'll make more sense to you. Go to school, get you a good education, so you can become a slave. That's what we've been doing. That's how they've been training us. That's how they trained us.
A different way of shackling you. They say we're going to shackle the mind as opposed to shackling your legs.
And what that does is it also skims off the cream from the top.
Come on, work with us. Come on.
That's what that does. It takes all of our brilliant people and it puts them to work in corporate America or puts them to work for somebody. And they are supposed to be, because this is what the talented 10th concept was all about. Go reread what W.E.B. Du Bois said. Reread it.
I want to add to that, Brother Wayne. If you take and go into corporate America, get the money. Once you get the money, come back. Come back and do what you could not have done without the money.
Well, so that's what I think is missing.
Right.
And that's what I don't think they know how to do. I think that many of our people would like to, and they often try, but what they do is they set up programs. Listen, the programs are just that, they programs. What you need to try to do is to figure out how you can create jobs.
Right.
That's all this comes down to. Industry. How can you employ somebody? What can I do to start an industry? And what we should do, and I've been putting this out quite a bit, because what we should do, y'all, is understand that business is warfare.
Right.
And we should capture all of the markets that we presently have allowed to be taken from us, that they should be ours anyway.
Right, because when we were in the 60s, we had community-based business. We did the business thing in the hood, as we call it today. We owned the stores. We had the barbershops. We had all of those industries that we're talking about. We had those. And then once we integrated, boom.
We simply served our own needs. And we are allowing other people now to serve our needs. That's what I mean by business is warfare. Let's capture our dollars back. Remember, we did a show on our buying power.
Right.
$1.1 trillion that we're allowing the others to get. Let's just capture our own dollars. I know every community, you got convenience stores in your communities that own and run by other people.
Right.
Let's capture our community dollars back. Look, no one should be selling us hair. No one should be selling, that's our hair, that's our product. We should at least sell that to ourselves. Why are we letting somebody else provide something to us?
Right.
Come on, let's stop that. Let's capture our own markets back. Listen, no one we should have the chicken franchises in the country.
Right. And
No one eats
more chicken.
no one eats more fried chicken than the black people. Why are we letting Kentucky and all these other people get rich? Listen, what's the chicken franchise in Chicago? Harold's, I believe.
Right.
There should be a Harold's in every city.
And the sad part, Brother Wayne, is that we're having Asians and other nationalities to come in and cook us our chicken and our soul food. Now, how did that happen?
That's what we mean by deprogram and restore our original pride.
Because we've lost it, people. We've lost it. We need to get back to basics. We need to start loving ourselves.
And that's as simple as it gets right there. It is, if we love ourselves, and we do, I hate to say that we don't, but it's just that we don't know what to do.
We don't love each other enough, is what he's saying.
Yeah, it's not enough love there, because as soon as Dr. Watkins says, listen, out of all these people that signed on to this letter, we're going to need you to do something else. Let's go to the next level. Well, how many going to sign on then?
Right.
Right now, we got a list as long as inside this room, because all he's asking is that you sign on to the letter.
Right, but now you start making demands. You start talking about pooling resources. Then that's when the pocketbook starts going towards the person as opposed to coming out.
Let's create some companies, y'all. Listen, we should put Nike up against the wall and says that, listen, Nike, as many sneakers as our young people are buying, as many of our athletes are promoting your sneakers, and you don't have any factories in our inner cities.
Well, and it goes back to the stores. Why do we have to go to those individual stores, and why we can't have a store? Why they're not giving franchise? Since we are the people that are spending the most money on those items. I'm saying as far as percentages, because every time they have a new Jordan come out, we're the first ones in line. So why are we not able to sell those shoes?
Well, that's my point. And why are we making them? I know where you are, Nike. You're in all these little bitty countries, and you're making these sneakers, and where they don't have to have a minimum wage out there.
Right.
But listen, we're your customer base, and we could change that if we demanded that. Remember the leverage conversation? Remember
Boycott?
Remember the boycott, the participatory democracy?
Right.
Tell these people and tell our children, listen, baby, we don't buy Nikes anymore because we have to have factories in our inner cities where we can go to work and make these sneakers, earn the money to be able to turn around and purchase these sneakers.
Just think if we stopped and said for 1 month, 1 year, we're not going to buy any Nike products. Nike will come back to us and say, hey, look, we got a deal.
What can we do?
Right.
What can we do to solve y'all's problem?
Right.
Listen, we are in the catbird seat when it comes to our potential for economic power. But we've got to understand that we don't get the power by working for other people all the time. That paradigm got to be busted asunder. And we've got to get our intelligent people, our educated class of people, to think in terms of creating industry. How can we create jobs? What do we do? And I'm saying we start by capturing the markets that we should have already. Let's lasso our own dollars first. And then once we do that, we'll go out there, we'll be competitive, we'll start competing for other people's dollars like their president do us.
Right, and that $1.1 trillion that we look to spend next year, if we took and started a real serious approach to keeping half of that money, if we took that $500 billion and said, hey, look, we're going to start out next year, 2014, and say, hey, look, we're going to take that money and we're going to reinvest in our communities overnight.
And these are the kinds of shattering. These are the kind of innovative things that we have to start thinking of. Dr. Watkins, we applaud you for your activity in the community. We want you to use these celebrities and all these people you got together now, and let's move to the next level though. Let's say, listen, we got to have financial institutions in our community. We got to have those institutions that provide the capital for the ideas that we have.
Right.
Okay.
Because there are some smart, innovative black people.
Absolutely.
And most of the time, they use our intelligence to benefit them.
Absolutely. We are in charge of so many companies that we can't pass on to our children.
Right. We're designing cars, but we don't have one car company.
Absolutely. Because I heard that new vehicle that did a lot of selling for Chrysler pulled them up out of
Right.
Black man did the model for that.
Right.
See, so we continue to be brilliant, but we've just been hoodwinked with the education that we've gotten.
Right.
That's all. The education we've gotten is faulty. Now, of course, we're not talking about reading and writing. You understand that? We've got to get that part. We're talking about the other part that they give us that doesn't allow us to think like free people. That's what we've got to change. And that's what we got to outgrow. And this is nothing other than love teaching. It's love teaching.
Yes, sir.
And we laid on our
Disclaimer.
disclaimer.
Well-
we had to hear the show now. We should have used the disclaimer to say that we don't dislike black people. We've been on our people on this show.
And we referenced the people I did, at least once concerning the Asians and other nationalities. But we want you to know on every show that we're not any type of bigots, racist, homophobic. We have an agenda that's really seated in love. And we want for our people what other people want for their people.
That's it.
All that is to be successful. And when you're successful, guess what? Crime goes down. Mass incarceration goes down. If you employ, crime goes down. But see, they know this, but they have to have their feet on somebody's neck. And unfortunately, it's black people. But black people, I'm talking to you. We have to stop being tools and fools for the system.
We're too vulnerable. And actually, we need to do a show, and perhaps that would be our next one. We need to do a show on really who's responsible for the racism in this country.
Right.
It's us.
Yes, sir.
We're responsible for the racism in this country because we continue to continue to be vulnerable.
If they see an opportunity to exploit someone,
They will.
they will. Just like the marketers, they say that, hey, look, we're going to use sugar and salt to exploit people. And most people don't know, when you drink a soda, the reason why you can't stop drinking that soda is because you're thirsty. It's because they put salt. Look at the sodium content in that drink.
What is it called when you assist somebody that's got a problem? You're an enabler.
Right.
We are enablers to white America.
Right.
They have a problem and we enable them. We let them continue to manifest racist attitudes because we want them to treat us better than they treat themselves.
Brainwashing. That's what
horrible.
it is.
That's continue. That's horrible, y'all. Listen, we got to get out of here. We're past our time. But we have enjoyed our conversation today. You got to look for us because we're going to continue to do this.
Yes, sir.
We got some more subject area that we're going to cover with you. But ultimately, we're going to stay around this whole piece right here because we know that we have the potential to change the lives that we exist in, but we just simply have to get our thinking changed.
Right. And nobody's going to change your condition as an individual until you first change your mindset. You have to first change that which is in yourself. That condition will remain. Nobody can help you until you change your mind.
And we're seeing glimpses of it happening, and that's what gives us encouragement.
Right.
Because the fact that this many people want to sign on and recognize that there's a problem called mass incarceration.
Right.
And thanks to the sister's book,
Michelle Alexander.
Michelle Alexander, you need to read that book. Michelle Alexander's book called The New Jim Crow.
Right, excellent book.
Which really brings this issue to the table.
Right.
We've been addressing it and seeing it on the front line for some time because we've been working in alternative school work.
Right.
And we see how the police comes into the school. Now, you know they have police officers in schools.
Right.
And we see how little incidents get our people locked up.
Right, and these are small incidents that become larger because that's the initiation. When they go to lockdown and juvenile facilities, that gets them to that next level because they're saying, hey, look, I already been in jail. I don't care nothing about no jail. And that's a sad beginning.
And they get to the point where they reject education, but we have no problem teaching our young people.
Yes, sir.
They sit and listen to what we have to say, just like regular students.
Mm-hmm.
And people marvel at it, and it's because of what we're giving them.
Right.
You know, it ain't them, it's what you're giving them that they're not receiving.
How much love are you giving them? That's the deal. And children are very receptive to love. If you're not giving them love as a teacher or an educator, they're rejecting you. And if they don't feel you, if they don't feel that love, they're not going to be receptive to what you have to offer.
But they the one came up with that term. I feel you.
Right.
They mean that.
Yes, sir.
Listen, check us out. Find us. We're on the web. You can get us at www.mibness.
Yes, sir.
Mentors in Blackness. That's what we are. You're going to catch us on the web. Of course, we want to see you back here we are Men in Black, MIB Unleashed.
Right.
Real Black Talk.
On YouTube.
Yes, sir.
Also, you can check out Brother Wayne on Sunday morning, Central Standard Time at 8:30 to 9:30. He has his own talk show, and you can call in.
That's the live version. Yes,
Right.
sir. It's on 88.3. You go to www.kabf.org. KABF.org, 8:30 Central Standard Time. And you can tune in live and we'll be addressing these types of issues. But of course, you can call in live and talk to me then too. But most importantly, give us an opportunity to come to your city, your town, and work with your young people. We look forward to that. Until next time, peace. Have a great rest of the day.
Peace.
Get you a paper, turn on the news, ride through the hood, I witness the blues. How can you ignore it? It's easy to spot it. The trap house of